How to gain that fluency from zero to fluent. The complete guidance to become fluent in English. How to gain that fluency. So, this is your way. These 5 steps are your way to become absolutely fluent in English if you follow all the 5 steps. Hello, everybody. How are you all? Hope you're doing great. Welcome back to another session of learning English with me. In this lesson, we are going to focus on improving our English. Not only just speaking, but overall English skills, the complete English. Basically, I'm getting a lot of requests that say, "Sir, where to start? You can understand English, but speaking is difficult. You want to start that journey, but you are not able to find that particular path." So, basically, how to become fluent in English. How to get from zero to fluent. That is what we are going to discuss today. So, are you all ready for this? Before beginning, please subscribe to the channel so that you can get all the lessons that I post for you on this channel. Please like the video and share it with your friends too. Now, coming back to today's lesson. How to become fluent from zero. If you are somewhere around zero, how do you get to that level of fluency? Well, this is going to be helpful for everybody out there, whether you are at the intermediate level or just above the beginner level. This is going to be helpful for you. Now, let's begin. First of all, let's try to understand what is this zero level that we are all discussing. You might think zero is basically nothing, but that's in your mind. You're not at zero. If you are at zero, that means you cannot understand English. If you can understand English, you're somewhere above that level. Consider yourself at number 2 or number 3. Right? We have to get to 10. 10 is fluent. If you are somewhere at number 2 or number 3, that means you are able to listen to that particular language. You're listening to my video. That's a big deal. Listening and understanding a language is a big deal. Now, if I start speaking in Spanish, you will not be able to understand because you don't know that particular language. That means knowing a language counts. You have to take this into consideration. That half of your work is done. That is basically a base. Now, what we have to do is, we have to take up this base of understanding a language and build fluency over this particular base. So, we'll be building the fluency over this base of understanding the language. There are going to be certain steps that I'm going to tell you, so let's begin. Step number 1 of becoming fluent in the English language. Survival English. If you're starting somewhere from a beginning level, then you have to focus on survival English. I think everybody must focus on survival English. That is a must if you want to become fluent in English. What is survival English? Basically, survival English is the component of spoken English. We never use survival English in written English because we need proper structures to write, but often when we are speaking English, we can miss out on the structures and just speak out the meaningful part of a sentence so that we can make the other person understand what we're trying to say. The other person can understand that particular thing. Now, imagine if you are in an English-speaking country. Nobody understands your native language. You cannot form a proper sentence because you might not be so sure about the grammar structure and all that. What would you do? How would you try to speak something? You will speak some kind of broken language, right? You might speak certain words with meaning. For example, you're feeling hungry. You want to find a restaurant. What would you do? You would approach a native person and say, food-hungry restaurant. These three words make a connection in the mind. As soon as I say, food-hungry restaurant, a person would be able to tell, well, okay, this person is feeling hungry, and they want the direction to some restaurant. So, they'll tell you, or they would drop you at a restaurant, or they would tell you the way to a restaurant. There, you can place an order. You can call out just the names of the food items and say, price, and the person would tell you the price. These words are meaningful words. They carry certain meanings. They can be nouns, verbs, the meaningful words through which you can tell what you want to say to the other person. That's survival vocabulary. That is survival English. Your grammar structures, like is, am, a, or structures like does, do, did, have, had. These are not a part of survival English. No. Survival English means the vocabulary, the meaningful words that are needed for you to tell what you want to say to get your message across. If you're able to do that, that's your survival English, the basic English, the minimum English you must know in order to survive for one single day in an English-speaking country or in an English-speaking environment. That is your survival English. So, this survival English is very important because once you know the survival English, you gain confidence to speak English. Now you can start speaking English. And when we are talking about speaking, now is the time to discuss step number 2. Step number 2 to becoming fluent in English. Start speaking from day 1. This is something that I've discussed with you again and again throughout my videos. I have a dedicated video on this particular thing. Start speaking from day 1. Start speaking English from day 1. That is the video that you can go check out. Why is it important for you to start speaking from day 1? Because the more you delay speaking English, the more you'll hesitate to speak it. If you start speaking from day 1, whatever you are learning, the vocabulary, the grammar structure, any component of English, you're listening to something, you'll be able to use it in your speaking. Because the end goal is to speak. We're talking about becoming fluent in English, which means you want to become a fluent English speaker. Speaking is a skill that comes with practice. So, if you don't start speaking from day 1, it's going to affect the way you speak. A lot of times, people think, let us improve our vocabulary. Let us practice some more grammar rules. Let us listen for a month at least, and then we'll speak. No. Everything must go hand in hand. Speaking on one side, and everything else in English on the other. Both things must go side by side. That is something that you're supposed to do. So, start speaking from day 1. That's very important so that you can practice these mouth muscles. You can practice speaking in English. You can become fluent in English because through this practice, over time, you'll become fluent. You cannot achieve it in one single day. For example, let me give you an example. If I'm just looking at some recipes, watching the videos again and again, and reading the recipe over and over, one day I might think, I've done this a lot. Now let me prepare it. Would I be able to make something perfect on my first attempt? Obviously not. It would not come out perfect. And that is what a lot of people think. We are going to practice vocabulary for a month, then maybe grammar for another month, reading for another month, and then after that we'll start speaking when we think we are really good at grammar, good at vocabulary, and know a lot of words. This will not happen. All the steps and processes are there. It's going to be there. So, day 1 must be today, not after 2 months. Not after 3 months. No. Day 1 of speaking should be day 1 of your English learning journey. So, start speaking from day 1 to become fluent in English. Step number 3 is again very important. Good English input. That means a lot of times, we need to put input. Language is something that often needs a particular model where we are receiving information and then producing. How do you learn your native language? By listening to that particular language a lot. And then reading it when you go to school. When kids go to school, they read the language a lot. There. So, by listening and reading, we are taking input in a language, and through speaking and writing, we're producing the output. Now, in order to produce good output, that is, in order to speak fluent English, first of all, we have to listen to the language a lot. Listening is very important. It's the most important factor, the most important form of input, even more important than reading. Why? Because you are listening to good models of pronunciation, the way a sound is made, how a sentence is spoken, and what the rhythm is. You listen to good models of speaking. That is very important. Where do you get all these models? From movies, songs, web series, TV series, and YouTube channels that are in English. All these resources act as your listening resources. Apart from these, you also get to listen to a lot of academically curated stuff, specially designed for English language learners, so you can listen to that too. Good models of listening. Now, you need listening resources. You need to listen. Listening is very important because once you listen to something, you're able to catch on to words, phrases, everything, the pronunciation. When you listen to something again and again and again, it becomes a part of your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind stores it, and when you want to speak in English, you're able to retrieve that particular information because you know you've heard that word before. When you go to learn your vocabulary, if you've listened to that particular word in context, you'll be able to learn it quickly, understand it, and use it in a better way.